overlay.
Yeah, enjoyable. All right, what else you want to talk about, Chatty?
Well, let's start with, since you're on the pipe, what pipe tobacco are you having?
Oh, this is a proprietary blend. It's really just the remnants of all the pipe tobacco that I've gotten over the last 20 years and not quite finished.
Is
Uh,
that what you gave me, the little jar of
yeah,
mystery?
yeah, mystery jar. I have a like a humidor. It's kind of like a glass case, and I've been kind of dumping, when I finish or nearly finish a bag. Or I remember like when I first started this, like what do you call like the sourdough
Like the starter.
yeah, but like some places like they have the same one for 100 years. Nothing necessarily translates to pipe tobacco, but I remember
You
back
haven't died yet.
when I was no, it was in my teens and 20s. I'd have a cigar that kind of got effed up.
Yeah.
I'd crumble the cigar, throw it into the pipe tobacco mix, shake it around, figure what the heck. So smells nice. It's not overly sweet. I do have some cool pipe tobaccos. I have two unopened cans of Frog Mortons, which I didn't even realize till I was in that amazing tobacco shop in Chicago, the name which will come to me. Best tobacco shop, even better than one I told you about in San Diego. Frog Morton's went out of business like 8, 9 years ago. I can't believe I've got
Oh
these cans of
no.
pipe tobacco that I haven't opened yet. And each one, or maybe there was one of them. I don't know if they all have this, but a little block of cedar, like not cedar, like a bourbon barrel, cube.
Oh.
Yeah, pretty neat.
Well, Ian and I are trying these La Finca cigars that he got for free
Yes.
from someone.
From my buddy Mike.
We
Oh
don't know the
no.
age, how he stored them.
No. None of these important aspects of cigar care.
We're just hoping they're not laced with anything or
Oh
full of
my.
bugs.
Yes.
I
But we have backups just in case.
mean, it's not bad.
I told my friend I came up from Dana Point today, and I said, "Yeah, I'm gonna meet my buddy Chad." I said, "I got some extra pipes. I'm gonna gift him." He says, "I don't think I know anybody who smokes pipes." Yeah, it's kind of true. There aren't that many. I mean, they exist in the world, but
Not a lot in California. I think that's the thing.
California doesn't make it easy, do they?
I think they're all in the South.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I was in Ireland, in Dublin, and I see Peterson Pipes of Dublin.
Mm.
Now, I've heard of this brand for my whole life.
Wow.
My dad even mentioned it. And I was like, wow, I gotta check this out. I go into the pipe shop. It was very depressing. It was like a shell of its former self. There was a wall full of pipes, and a lot of the pipes are pretty cool. But any of the pipe tobacco, like the thing about the EU is that you cannot have any branding. So whatever, if you're Ian's tobacco company, Chad's tobacco company, Charlie's tobacco company, all the same font, all black copy on white background, no logos, and then pictures of black lungs.
Come
I was like, is
on.
this a legal product that people are selling that adults can make their own decisions about, or like how is that? To me, that seems wrong. Educate people in school and let them make their own decisions. It takes all the romance out of a beautiful, fun experience. Like a can of wonderful tobacco during the holidays. They have ones that kind of like are reminiscent of like an English fruit cake. Beautiful. So the guy says, if you really want that experience, go up to Northern Ireland and go to begins with a B, the capital of Northern Ireland, Belfast. And there's some great tobacco shops up there. They're a part of the UK. They have different regulations. Really beautiful stuff.
Mm.
And that's a whole other story. But
Didn't you go up there and it was closed?
You know, I heard the story. Yeah, I went up there, and the place called Miss Moran's, which has been there for almost 100 years, a really cool tobacco shop, was closed because everything was closed. It was July 15th, Northern Irish Independence Day. Everything was closed, but I got sucked into this amazing cultural experience where I got taken to secret pubs, and people gave me Protestant beer, whatever that means. Um,
It's 3% alcohol.
yeah, or it's the blood of the Lord. I don't know. No transubstantiation.
Right.
Um, it was, I saw I said, who's that guy? His tattoos of the Union Jack, God Save the Queen tattoos. I gotta go. That guy's a killer. That guy's a killer for the NRA and NRA IRA. IRA. Sorry, Northern Ireland. Anyway, it was fascinating 6 hours that I got roped into instead of going to a tobacco shop, which hopefully I can go some other time. But Northern Ireland is a trip.
That sounds fun, dude.
Yeah, it was really neat. One thing stood out. The guy said to me, "I want to go to America." I said, "Where do you want to go?" He went, New York, Los Angeles. No, I want to go where there's real Americans, Alabama.
Yeah.
I
Where he
said,
went to school.
I said, Alabama. I said, why do you say that? He says, that's fishing and country stuff, and I guess Northern Ireland is such a patriotic uh, country because of what they've had to fight to maintain their own separate identity, that I think they really relate to more of the nationalistic, um, hardcore patriotic parts of the country,
Mm.
like the South. Found it so interesting. Guy couldn't have been nicer. Wouldn't let me pay for a beer all day. He says, "I'm going to teach you what the whole Northern Ireland politics were all about," which is terrible Northern Irish accent, but it was fantastic. He introduced me to old buddies of his and family members, and we just went. And there was a parade, and it was a cacophony. It was fantastic.
They're the ones with the green, white, and orange flag. Or-
That is no, that's actually Ireland. Northern Ireland is UK colors. So
oh,
they're obsessed with the Queen and King Charles. They have banners, posters, tattoos. They're very uh, enthusiastic about being loyalists to the crown. They want to be governed by the crown. They want to be a part of the United Kingdom.
I think I always got it mixed up.
me too. I
I
thought it was
always
the
thought it was,
opposite.
yeah, the opposite.
Well, here's two things.
But what do I know?
As much as we're goofing on the facts of Northern Ireland and Ireland right now, if anybody's watching this and they take away anything, never order an Irish car bomb in Ireland because it's a terrorist act that people have lost friends and family over. And the other thing you should never order in Ireland is a black and tan. And I don't know why, because I innocently ordered it. It's a dark beer and a cider, I believe. Maybe that's a snake bite. Anyway, I wanted a mixed beer, and I got chastised pretty heavily about it, and she wouldn't even explain why. So don't order a black and tan, and do not order an Irish car bomb when you're in Ireland or Northern Ireland. Just drink Guinness,
You'll be safe.
which is great.
Well, when I was in Ireland, I said, I want an Irish whiskey that I can't easily get in the U.S.
Another great order.
And did they give it to you?
Yeah, there's a couple that one was Dingle Gold.
Oh, from the Dingle Peninsula.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went there.
And
Y'all are speaking a foreign language to me right now, bro.
Just Dingle.
Just
Dingle.
dingle.
we're
Just
just
sounds
talking about
silly.
the Dingle. One of the most beautiful places I've ever been. It was amazing.
Very pretty.
And I remember driving past the distillery and not really
Mm-hmm.
connecting the two, but I got Dingle Gold in Dublin, and it was, or is it no? Might have been Killarney.
Killarney has another whiskey.
I don't think I got that one, but
irony.
it was
Did they give you writer's tears? I remember that one when I was there.
No, I didn't have that. I had so I had Dingle Gold. One place gave me a uh
Did you do red breast? And they have the green, yellow, and red dot on it.
y-
I don't know if it's the aged years.
well,
or-
yeah, there's the green spot, yellow spot.
Yeah.
I had neither of those because no one. I think you can get those pretty easily
Hmm.
here. I mean, Red Breast 12 is incredible. But it was an interesting Bushmills.
Oh,
Um, which I thought was weird because I'm like, isn't this like a Northern Irish?
yeah, it is. It's actually the oldest distillery in the world. I think 1610.
Yeah, so they gave me a
Holy
Bushmills,
smokes.
which was
Yeah.
and it was great. And then another one that stood out was a Powers
Mm-hmm.
Reserve.
I think that's distilled in Dublin. I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one of their like higher
Mm.
end ones. All of it was fantastic. We drove past Tullamore Dual Distillery, and I really, really wanted to stop. But it was like halfway in our drive, and then Jessica was just not going to drive. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. We just landed,
Yeah. Oh,
driving like 4 hours across
it's
the,
so fun.
the country. I'm like, I probably shouldn't stop at a distillery.
You guys
right
ever have Malort in the Midwest?
now. Oh yeah.
Malort. It's
That's a whiskey too.
no, it's a it's kind of like a Jaeger, right? It's a
They call it a whiskey, but yeah, I don't know what it would be.
if I remember correctly, some news camera guys I ran into at a bar. I heard them talking about industry stuff, and it sounded like they're camera guys or production guys. And started talking, and sooner or later, you had Malort yet? I said, no, no. What's that? Go, oh, you gotta try it. It's local. Malort, Malort. If I remember correctly, it was herbal,
Yeah,
strongly herbal. I don't want to say,
Midwest medicine.
yeah. When I was in Newfoundland, they had Screech. They had a rum called Screech, and it was the same thing. Yeah, you tried Screech yet? Oh, you're gonna love Screech, and it's just some like lousy rum, locally made. It's still the only spirit made in Newfoundland, I think.
Yeah, I have good friends in Chicago, and they made sure I tried it.
You gotta try stuff like that.
No, and I would do it again if I was with my Chicago friends
Yeah,
because they all know it's terrible, but they take pride in it because it is a local thing.
sure.
And
It sucks, but it's ours.
yeah, exactly.
Oh, what's like that in California?
Everything's great in California. What are you talking about?
Hmm.
I mean, some people would argue in and out
Yeah.
because there's people not from here who go, it's okay. You know, they don't think anything special of it, but all of us love it.
I mean, if you're trying to compare In and Out to some big thick burger, it's not that's not the comparison you make. In and Out is a very specific type of burger, and in the category that it's in, it seems like it's been perfected. You could disagree and make this a hot pod.
I'm gonna go even further and say I've never had an In-N-Out burger.
Yo.
And I've lived here for 7 years.
You've never been to In-N-Out?
I've been and I've had the fries. I don't eat beef.
Oh.
So I don't eat pork or beef
There's not much there for you.
or cheese.
Oh.
So there's nothing there for me, but I had the fries. I was not impressed.
The fries are not the greatest.
The fries are horrible. They turn into something else like in 5 minutes. Like if you don't eat them in like 3 seconds, their texture and all of that changes.
Well-
I don't understand. My wife loves it. I don't get it, bro. But I never had the burger, so
I like big thick steak fries. That's the kind of fry guy I am. But people will always say, "Yeah, but they're so fresh." You see the guys pounding the potatoes in the back, right there, right in front of you.
so
Something to that.
Five Guys does that.
yeah. And Five Guys fries, I can put them in the oven later and they're gonna taste right.
Really?
Do you get the
Yes.
Asian fries?
I do.
Yeah.
Dang, what time does Five Guys close? You got me hungry, dog.
I only went to one once.
They're way too expensive now.
They're pricey.
Yeah.
They are
I
pricey.
went and got a burger and fries just by myself, I spent almost $20.
Yep.
I was like, yeah, I'm not going here again.
That's no fun.
Mm-mm.
McDonald's is good.
See, I can't eat that stuff. Man, that'll make me pooping for freaking. That's a
Oh yeah, but I mean, you
That's
buy the ticket, you take the ride.
yeah, not anymore.
No more rides at McDonald's,
No.
bro. You think McDonald's is bad? Burger King, bro. But you know what you can get at Burger King? I'm trying to tell y'all, if you're poor or you don't want to spend a lot of money, like myself, go to Burger King, bro. Get on the app. I'm telling you,
Oh,
bro.
I've heard about some of these tricks.
Man, you can get a smorgasbord for like $8,
Eat
bro.
like a
Can you
king.
eat like a king?
Yeah, I don't. The king of what? I'm not sure. The king of the bathroom, but you will be a king.
And it's all app.
It's all on the app. 2 chicken sandwiches for $5.
That's what it should be.
No,
In
not
my
in this
in
economy.
my mind, that's
That's,
normal.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might have been normal
10
25
ago.
years ago.
Man, do you remember in high school those? It was like $25 or 25-cent burgers at McDonald's, like certain days.
I remember there was a chicken nugget thing. It was like 24 or 30 nuggets for like $4.99 or something.
That sounds amazing.
Got that. I pounded those, and I hadn't had McDonald's nuggets probably in a while. I was like, oh yeah. In my mind, they were still delicious. Man, I put those down. Dude, I farted nugget clouds.
What do we?
I just felt terrible. That's the last time I was a senior in high school. Last time I had McDonald's chicken nuggets.
This is all part of the creative process, folks. Just so you know,
I forgot. People watching this. I forgot.
this is the fuel, and this is how we create.
Mm.
You got to be fueled, and what better than nugget fart clouds to propel you forward?
Well, I mean, I think every creator can relate to eating the cheapest food possible to survive doing what you love to do.
Yes.
I mean, Charlie's known me a long time. I would get bean and cheese burritos and water most places, whatever's like the cheapest thing. But it was. I went to Hawaii almost every year in college. I would eat cheap, but like Charlie, and you went once or twice.
I went once, but not with you or Matt. It was with
I think
John and Brian.
yeah. But yeah, one of our mutual friends, we'd plan a trip every like January in college because it was cheaper because everyone's going back to school and we had like a few more weeks, so we get a cheaper place to stay, be there for like a solid week.
That's amazing.
And I had no money. I was working a movie theater job.
Chad would get us into some movies, or he back then like the trailers were on film.
Yeah.
I still have a Bowfinger trailer on film.
I got some.
I love that movie.
Yeah, he got me a big vinyl Bowfinger poster. That was cool. That hung in my college apartments for at least a couple years.
I got
That's Eddie Murphy and Steve Martin,
Steve
right?
Martin,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
love that
That
movie.
movie's funny.
I still got a ton of movie posters. I got buttons, trailers, posters.
Come on down to Chad's eBay
Yeah.
shop.
That's what I need to do. I need to start selling this stuff.
So then you can fund the baseball
My
signing.
baseball. That's the problem. I like too much. I like to buy. I don't like to sell.
Me too. Except his gear.
But
And our wives somehow put up with it.
well, doing the whole through the mail, autograph things. I follow. I'm a part of a group now on Facebook, and they always like post the addresses and stuff. But I'm learning, you should go to this company because it's free labels software, and you can just print your own postage.
Oh wow.
It's to the cent. You don't have to go anywhere, do anything, and it's not it's not a monthly fee.
You just put a ball in a manila like padded envelope.
So I bought the polyvinyl bags. 6x9. So you could actually put two balls in it pretty easily. Um, so what I've been doing is I have the package that I'm sending. I'll take the ball, put it in the return package, wrap it up in that,
Yeah.
put it in that, and then the letter.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's all they got to do is pull it out, sign it, put it right back in the return bag, and put it in the mail.
You think it would be easy?
You would think it'd be easy. You just got to go to the people who know how to do postage.
Learn from Chad.
It's a costly mistake to do wrong, but it's a good lesson, you know. But I'm like, now that if I can figure out shipping and it's not like a pain, like that was something that always has held me back from doing eBay and stuff.
Mm.
So I'm like, I don't want to do a mailroom.
It's a little bit of a pain. Like I'm not sure how to dial it in. If you have to have a scale, if it's shapes, like there's some postage that's just flat rate boxes or envelopes, but a lot of stuff you can't send in those.
Right.
I've sold a handful of things, but mostly I've purchased since
I'm a good purchaser.
since 2000 when I was purchasing Prince CDs on eBay
Wow.
as a sophomore. Man, you'd win the auction, and they'd say congratulations, and then I'd write out a check by hand, and I'd mail it to New Jersey or wherever. It would take 4 or 5 days to get there, and then they would say check received, okay. And then I got to wait a couple more days for them to send me my CD of Diamonds and Pearls or whatever. And then it takes another 5 days to get back to me, and you got to hope that the jewel case isn't broken by the time it gets back to you.
I don't remember when I started eBay, but I think I started buying hockey jerseys because hockey jerseys were always expensive.
Yeah.
And I found this place. I'm like, you can get these things for like $20.
Wow.
It was great. So I bought like 50 of them over the few
I
years.
remember when you had a closet full of jerseys.
Yeah, I had them all hanging up at one point.
Yeah, that's cool.
I still have a couple. I gave away a lot though. I just gave them away. I had my brother help me sell a few of like the bigger ones, but the things I have spent money on.
It's hard to sell stuff you like just because you run out of space. How dare space limit me
Right.
from having more cool stuff that I want in my life to inspire me?
We're creators. You can't tell us no.
Exactly.
So, going back to the artist way, it actually talks about kind of buying things that make you happy.
Mm.
Because buying the things that make you happy inspire you.
Yeah.
I mean, she obviously isn't saying, go broke doing this stuff and, wasting your money. You still got to be smart with it. But like if there's a little trinket or object that makes you happy and inspires you and you have the money or the means to be able to do it, why not do it?
Ian, besides gear, do you have little collections of anything?
We talked about this one time on Space.
We did. I don't really think I do. I think it's mainly gear.
Yeah.
Because it's such an expensive
Right.
habit,
Yeah.
so
You have like is there a piece of gear you've gotten in the past year or two that's like hard to find? You've been on the hunt for it?
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So back in the early 90s, there's a company called Cheetah. They're a little UK company. And they started off making like chips, and then that somehow evolved into like I think they were working on like video game consoles at one point, and then that somehow evolved into them making audio equipment. And there's a specific machine called the Cheetah MD16, and I have been looking for this piece of gear for 7 years. I found one time, but I couldn't afford it. And then a buddy of mine, Michael Matisse, great guy, he found one on eBay UK, and he wasn't willing to ship it to the US. So I messaged him and I was like, dude, please, like I'll pay extra, just like please. And
How big is it?
it's probably like this big.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's not huge,
No, it's not huge. Um,
but it's probably $35 a ship.
I was a lot more than that.
Oh, really? It's
Yeah.
heavy.
Yeah, it's kind of heavy, and he put it in a case because the thing about this piece of gear, the reason why they're
Okay.
hard to find, they have a problem. So they have, back then, in order to have internal memory, they had to have a battery in there, and that battery would have leakage issues.
Corrode.
Yeah, and so most of them that are out there, they're done for, unless you really know what you're doing. But even to find replacement parts and stuff like that, you can't. So, yeah, I mean, they used to sell for like $150, like when they came out.
How many years ago did they come out?
They came out in '92.
Oh,
Yeah, in
okay.
'92, and I paid a lot more than that. I paid over $1,000 for it.
Yeah, but how much would you say? 150 or 170? How much would it?
Mm-hmm.
In 1992 dollars, that's
Probably dang near close.
yeah. Plus, you're on the hunt. I mean, man, when you find something you're on the hunt for, oh,
Bad news.
Yeah, it's great news.
Yes.
It's not maybe the best news for my wallet, but you know what, dude? The feeling of when that came in the mail and I could turn it on, and like I've had the samples for this drum machine on my computer because that stuff is out there
yeah,
for years, but it's nothing like having the actual thing in your hand and being like, dude, like there were cats who were like, didn't have the technology that we have today who were making music on this thing, and that guy, he had made music on it, and it's just a great feeling. And the reason why, not only are because they're rare, but Aphex Twin used one on a project. He has a project called Cheetah.
that
Yeah, and he used one. And after that came out, it was just like the market went absolutely bonkers. So and luckily the hype of that has died down because that was some years ago. So I got lucky because there was a point in time where they were selling for like dang near $2,000.
you ever been on the hunt for something and then finally get it, and then realize like you really didn't want it as much anymore as you did but you've just like the hunt has been there, and if you're on eBay, like you set up these eBay searches,
Mm-hmm.
like I got some searches that are probably like 10, 15 plus years old. And then sometimes when I'll find the thing that I think, I've been searching for, maybe I don't really, sometimes I got to check myself and say, do I really want this? Or was this like Charlie 10 years ago that wanted this? Like there was a pair of Miles Davis headphones I paid way too much for. And I got them. I was like, yes, I got them. And then like they're wired, and like everything was starting to go wireless and Bluetooth. I was like, I don't know if I got them now. They're shaped like little trumpets. They go right in your ear. Like the bell is like the squishy part, and out comes the mouth. I was really hot about it for a long time. Finally found them.
Do you still have them?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna wear those freaking things every now and again.
Like Charlie's like me. He doesn't get rid of much stuff.
No.
Because this is the thing about if I get rid of, especially gear, anything related to my creation, it's like, but what if?
Dude, the thing about collecting things for your art, your work, it's like that's just another paintbrush in your toolbox.
Exactly.
I mean, you can't ever make that sound again if you lose that thing.
It's true. I regret getting rid of a guitar before. I'm just like, man, I actually have such fond memories in the band with that guitar, and probably got $100 for it.
Yeah, where that $100 go now? 80 of it went to Lost Ball.
Yeah, probably.
Well, look, out of the three of us, I
It
maybe
may have been a trade for another guitar, but
The other 20 went to Five Guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
The lesson of the five guys. Out of the three of us, am I the only one that's read The Art of Tidiness by Marie Kondo?
I haven't read.
I watched the show she had on Netflix. My wife has read that book. She's so into that stuff. I wish I could be that person. I am not that person. All of it brings me joy. All of it.
Just can't do it.
I just can't do it, bro.
I tell you what, she got me folding my sweatshirts a little differently. So that's cool.
Do you feel different, like your mentality, or like Do you feel like you have more peace or
I mean, I can't go all the way, like the way that, and I don't even think she does it. Like she's since like kind of given up tidiness. That's kind of her new thing. Like she has kids, and she's like, what's more important, me being tidy or me just being like an available human being to these children that I'm raising? And she just gave up being tidy, at least for a while. Allowed her life to be messy. But
And
the
having two kids,
yeah,
you do need to just be like, okay, we're gonna be fine.
I imagine. But
Just as long as Legos aren't on the floor when I'm walking around barefoot,
right?
we're okay.
I hear about that a lot. But I do like the idea of being intentional
Yeah.
about what you bring into your home,
Mm-hmm.
that it gets used or appreciated, or like I have so many pieces of like paper or photographs that I've bought over the years of things that used to really inspire me, and they're just in a drawer of other pieces of paper because I'm out of wall space. you know, like I just got a business card from the '70s last week from my favorite guitar player, Joe Pass. Yeah, and you know what's cool about it? It's from his record label, which I'm like the main collector of. But he wrote his phone number in pencil at the top.
Did you call it?
I should.
How'd you get that?
Like in eBay.
That's super cool.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
the
kind of
seller
neat.
just wrote that on.
I was
Take it
like,
to the Pawn Star,
I was like,
guys.
what else is this
What?
guy selling? I look up sellers' other items, and it's all nude male photography. So this is like a real left field item in his in his, in his shop.
So you're saying Joe Pass said, "Here's my private number."
Yeah,
Yo,
let's take some just me and guitar shots.
maybe there was a trade that could have been had.
That's funny. I now that I won the auction, and I have it in my grubby little mitts, I do want to write the guy and say, "Hey man, what's the story behind acquiring this card?"
Yeah.
I've done that for a few other like jazz relics, and I love knowing. It's cool.
But I think like the old stuff, the story behind a lot of it is what's cool about it.
Oh, oh my God! Went to an estate sale last weekend.
That was that.
Okay, if anybody's a jazz head, you'll know the name Ray Brown as a bass player. He was like one of the major bass players of the 20th century. He played with Duke and Count, and like freaking everybody. He died in 2003, but his widow just died recently. And a friend of mine says you got to go to Ray Brown's widow's estate sale. Now, this ties in because I collect Pablo records from the 70s and 80s. Ray Brown was like the bass player, him and one other guy for Pablo. I'm like, I'm going to go and find some like personal Pablo stuff here. I didn't find as much crazy stuff as I was looking for, like none of his like personal effects. But I did find there's a lot of cassette tapes of live recordings with unreleased tracks, and they're on like the little paper thing that goes in the cassette
Mm-hmm.
to say it's like Pablo branded. I got a bunch of sealed albums, and then I open up this one case, and it's 12 8 tracks, all like do not resell stickers on them, like just like promotional stuff. Some pretty neat stuff. Oh, plus I got his address book from like the 80s, and you look inside, is like all these jazz legends, their home address, they're all dead, but
Like that probably
yeah,
shouldn't be legal.
if we're talking about nerdy crap, I got excited because I found a book of addresses of dead jazz artists that they don't live there anymore, and that was fun.
I mean, that ties into the baseballs that I collect.
Sure,
You know, you're sending some of these. You're sending it to their home.
that's interesting.
Really?
Huh.
I don't know how people got the address. I mean, a lot of them like really do it because they love doing it for their fans,
Right.
Hmm.
and a lot of them too have they've set up nonprofits or are connected to nonprofits, and they donate
Hmm.
money. So you send them like $10 to get a card signed,
Hmm.
and they will, put it into
The
the
fund.
Yeah. Or there's a player, I think I'm probably pronouncing her name wrong. Bauer,
Okay, Bruner.
Bruner. Like he's an avid through the mail signer,
Really?
and you give him like $10, and he'll write a note like, "Hey, you're $10. Bought a cup of Joe for a police officer."
That's cool.
Like he just treats people. I'm like, that's awesome. I know like Nolan Ryan will sign stuff.
Oh, really?
He does it for his foundation. I mean, his is I think like $75 plus.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's Nolan Ryan.
You ever seen him pitch when he was on the Angels?
Probably.
Yeah.
As a kid, yeah.
I remember I got a pin that day he pitched Nolan Ryan's head.
You guys are both Angels fans?
Well,
We
we
grew
grew
up
up in
very
Orange
close.
County.
Yeah, that's what I just assumed, but
I just went to the Angels-Yankees game on Monday. I hadn't been to the park in probably a decade, and I had a really neat revelation. I don't know if you knew this. It's the fourth oldest stadium in baseball, right behind Dodger Stadium, behind Wrigley, behind Fenway. Right.
I've been to all four.
I got to go to Fenway. That's the one I haven't been to. But to go to Angel Stadium, I never thought about it in my head as an old park. But
Yeah.
now having gone to Kauffman where the Royals play, now having gone to a lot of other stadiums, Angel Stadium feels old in a good way.
Yeah.
I mean, if the team was hot,
It'd be different.
yeah.
It feels old, but not in a good way like Wrigley and Fenway.
Well, that's real old.
But it's like there's such an energy there. Where Angels, you're kind of like,
Yeah, but
it's starting to look old. Like we went to the Coliseum.
Oh,
oh
yeah,
my gosh,
the Oakland
this
Coliseum.
is old and this is bad.
Well,
like old and not preserved.
it was neglected. It was in the final year.
But
Chad and I went to go to and we wanted to go to the Coliseum and
Yeah.
experience it.
but it had charm, it had character, just like you would expect in Oakland.
Mostly from the really spirited fans that were in clusters. The fun thing about going to the Oakland Coliseum is you could sit anywhere you want, really. I mean, there's so much empty space.
Right.
Like you could really just
it's
walk
a
around.
massive.
It is a big stadium. Yeah,
Well, we did get kicked out of one spot.
we did.
Yeah.
And we kept moving.
Yeah, we kept moving.
Yeah.
You caught a foul ball.
Yes. Well, it
Kind of.
it ricocheted off a bunch of things first.
Right.
It came in like a hot potato, man. I wasn't about to stick my hand out.
We had two hit back to back, same spot. Like we were standing there looking to go to a new spot, and we just hear this.
Yeah.
And
Me
we're
and
like,
Chad go like this.
We're like, oh my god!
And then I looked down and it was like right in front of my feet.
Well, that was the second one.
Mhm,
The 1st
mhm.
one, we're like, oh my gosh, that was so close. Next pitch came right back, same exact spot, and it bounced off some dude's hand, and
Yeah.
Charlie's like, sweet.
Some guy took the brunt of the hit.
Guy's like, my hand hurts.
Yeah.
Dude, I can only imagine, dude. That thing's moving at like 90 miles an hour.
I liked Angel Stadium. I thought it felt
we
good.
went recently this season.
Yeah.
And I love it for what it is.
It felt good, man. It felt good to be there. And, it's a little cartoony from the 2000s Disney renovation with the rocks in the outfield and the giant caps out front, but felt kind of good.
Yeah. It made every time I go there, I just try and find the hat that we grew up with. The navy.
That's what I had. That's what I wore.
Red bill.
Yeah.
And then just the A with the halo. Not the one with the,
A little
erection.
wing.
The one that Disney made, of course.
Yeah. It was in the outfield.
It was just in the outfield. Oh, man.
I just went to a game at Petco, a Padres
Is that your
game.
first one?
That's my first game there. I've been to a Braves game, and then we went to a few Reds games when I was growing up.
Petco's amazing.
Yeah, like that's not an old stadium. It's new. They have a Michelin star restaurant in the stadium. It's insane. But it was super nice.
They do have good food options there.
Yeah, it was super nice.
It's a beautiful park. And
Did you go to the inaugural season with us?
Yeah.
Because Casey was going.
2004.
I still have the towel.
Oh, you got.
They gave out beach towels and saying like inaugural season Petco. There's a hole in it now, but
It was
that's probably one of my top stadiums I've been to.
they're definitely good villains for the Dodgers, Machado and all those bums. But their stadium is quite pretty. It ain't Tony Gwynn's team any longer.
Now, where did they play? Like back in the day?
Jack Murphy. Where was that? I don't know exactly, but that's what it was called, Jack Murphy Stadium. Who was Jack Murphy? Put in the comments below. I think he was an old columnist, sports writer or something. Jack Murphy Stadium. Might have been, as was very popular in the 60s and 70s, mixed use stadium for football and baseball.
Yeah, we had the Rams for a while.
I went to one Rams game there.
I was told I've been to a Rams game there. I don't remember. I was pretty young.
I just got told last month that a month after I was born, my parents took me to Disneyland to see Count Basie Orchestra, which is pretty neat for me.
So it's always been in you.
Dude, I saw the Count when I was just a little nothing. That's kind of neat.
He was probably playing in the New Orleans Square?
No, I think the Carnation Plaza.
Oh, okay.
Duke used to play there. Louis Belson, all those old guys who still had big bands. Actually,
oh yeah, they had the ragtime guy out there a lot. I remember playing the piano and stuff.
yes, that was near the soda fountain shop. He let me play a song one time. That was neat. His name was Rod. I remember I had a pass for 1 year. It was my sophomore year in high school, and Rod would be playing, and he had like a kind of a Trump tan. He was an older guy, but he really tried to hide it, and definitely had a little kind of skin pulled back a little bit, and his hair was dyed, and he was here smiley and bright, and he was playing, and I said, "How did you learn to play like that?" He had been playing
I stuck the quarter in.
ragtime, well, close. He had been playing ragtime at Disneyland since the park opened. So this is like 93, 94 when I met him. He learned to play by watching player piano. Like he put a roll in and he watched the keys.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild? And a lot of those rolls are cut from crazy master pianists from back in the day. They would play a special piano that would perforate those rolls. So what's being replayed is really from fingers doing it, the timing and feel and everything. Pretty nutty.
Can't you imagine being able to do that?
I can't.
Because ragtime, especially, that's a fast.
I mean, to see the keys pressed down, and you don't know which fingers are doing it, so you just gotta hop in there and like start making the shapes with your left hand. Maybe you get that first, and then it's like trying to learn piano by watching a ghost. Pretty wild.
Dang. Because you really are like listening to dead people play. That's weird, bro. I don't know how I feel about
You know what
it.
that makes me think of? It makes me think of what learning art in the future is going to be like when AI can give us so many shortcuts. Now look at this guy Rod, right? Now you could say Rod didn't learn from a human being; he learned from a technology. All right, so that's interesting. That's kind of a future thing for him at the time. But he did have to sit there for hours and figure that out slowly. With like AI shortcuts in writing, like every time AI says, do you want me to smooth over this email that you just wrote? I'm like, no, man, I know how to express myself. Get out of here. I want to.
Sure?
Yeah, because you have some real grammatical errors. No, but there's that, and then they're talking about Neuralink, which is going to like have us be able to
Just think it.
think or upload information or skills or be like Neo in the Matrix.
I know Kung Fu.
Yeah. Now, what
The
if?
Bible said that's going to happen too.
Oh yeah, Neuralink.
Mark of the Beast.
I mean, the thing that an old person like us will say is, yeah, but you don't have the pleasure of toiling over this, earning the skill set will it even matter anymore? Will anyone ever be impressed by anything you can do as a human being, whether it's painting or photography or languages? I mean, people might not. I listened to this great kind of futurist podcast. They're talking about languages. A lot of times you see these people who speak multiple languages, what they call polyglots,
Mhm.
online. But you know, you can. There's already stuff where you can have your headphones in and people are talking to you and it gets translated instantly. Will anyone be learning new languages? Does it even matter? Is it what helps make us human, these endeavors? Answer.
I think, yeah, that we will because I mean we see this especially I think in the jazz world, but in the music world in general, and in the creation world in general. There's always gonna be purists.
Huh.
And whether that's because they want to feel superior or
Right.
they just want to feel connected to the history of the thing that they do, there's always gonna be purists. Cause even Ryan Coogler, who
Mm-hmm.
just did Sinners, like he filmed that on this crazy IMAX format and did it
Mm-hmm.
in film. He filmed it 3 different ways.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, and I was watching this thing he did with Kodak where he's like talking about it. And I thought it was so cool, especially like as a young black guy. Like this dude's talking about his art and this purism, and like he's not changing his vernacular. Like he's just talking like anybody you would meet out in Compton or something.
Mm.
But I think there's always going to be purists because like even in like the synth world, I mean, there's those people who are like, I can hear the difference. Like that is a digital clone, it's a plug-in. But there is something about, and that's why I like collecting gear. I have the samples for the drum machine we talked about already, but when I can touch it, it does something for me. And I think that people will always have that. People will always have that. Because it's a badge of honor for some, and then I think for others, they just want to there's always going to be collectors, people who want to preserve history. And I think that the processes are also part of preserving history. That's why there's people in China making paper, how they used to make paper 20, well, not 20,000 years ago, but 4,000 years ago. That's why there's still, I don't know if we were recording when we were talking about the breweries or the distilleries, but they're still making it the same way that they made it in the 1600s. I think that's always going to be around because it's our history as a human race. Is there always going to be a quicker, faster, different, perhaps better way? Yeah, but people love the funk too much, man. You can't fake the funk. They love it.
I mean, you can even look at history and just how meticulous people were about preserving just, events, names. I mean, even the Bible, all the
Genealogies.
genealogies.
The begats.
Yeah, and it's like every society had people who took it upon themselves to preserve and
Some
to
people.
protect
Yeah.
and, you know, record what happened.
I think each of us has a sense of that. The things that we love are are in one way or another kind of from a bygone era or are precious because they're rare or their time has elapsed. And
Or
I mean,
historical value.
yeah, do you feel like, I mean, I know I feel this way, kind of guardians of that information, guardians of those sounds, um, because we're from the last analog generation.
Yeah.
I feel a responsibility towards that and
I
all
mean,
the old crap that I like.
I think, getting back into the baseball cards has helped me to kind of dive into the history of baseball again,
Huh.
because it's like I grew up with a grandpa and family who loved the game. My great grandfather played on the Milwaukee Brewers in 1921 through something before they were a major league team. My great uncle, was in the minor leagues for the Milwaukee Braves and spent many years playing professional baseball. Um, so it's like there's and my grandpa who got me into collecting back in the 80s 90s loved it. Like they loved the game, and at that point, I was like, it's fun. It's something to do with my grandpa. It's fun to collect cards. But now, going through my grandpa's collection, I'm seeing the players that he really loved because he has their cards still. And then,
Hmm.
I watched the Ken Burns baseball documentary, and you're
Yeah.
like, man, there's just so much rich history in that game. And I was telling Charlie before you showed up, um, one of the balls that I sent out recently is one of two surviving, or one of two guys who are still alive who played in the Negro Leagues before the racial barrier was broken.
Wow.
So it was the last three was Willie Mays, this guy Bill Greason, and then this guy Ron Teasley, I think, who is still alive.
Wow.
Willie Mays just died, and the both of the other guys are 100 years old.
Wow.
So I sent a ball to Bill Greason, and I'm gonna try and send one to the other guy. And then my grandpa had a Willie Mays autograph ball.
So you can
So
have all
Wow.
three
I would have all three of the last
survivors.
survivors of the Negro League.
Wow.
I'm like, I want that because that is just a testament to like the history that they lived
Mm-hmm.
and the trials they went through. And I think all of them kind of. I mean, obviously Willie Mays had an amazing major league career.
Mm.
Bill Greason played a few years for the Cardinals. I don't know if the other guy did a whole lot in the majors, but he still persevered through that time. And
If they have memoirs, those would be fascinating to read.
Yeah.
The two fellows that are still alive.
yeah, Bill Greason, once he was done with baseball, he became a Baptist minister,
Hmm.
and he was still preaching up until last year.
Wow.
I'm like, that is amazing.
What a
I think,
spirit in
and I
that
think
man.
he served in 2 wars.
Jeez.
And like the legacy of that man is insane.
Yeah. Any descendants of his, what a cool tree to be a part of.
Yeah.
You can really like find strength in that heritage.
Yeah, and I think the other guy, Ron, and his wife have set up some kind of foundation too that really gives back to their community. And like, it's just so cool to see these players who, especially them, who went through such trials, are still loving their life, giving back to their communities, and like served a greater purpose. It's cool. It's amazing.
My dad would tell me when he would see Negro League games in the 20s and 30s in New York, and it wasn't just blackball clubs. It was all sorts of kind of themed clubs. Like
Yeah.
there was a Puerto Rican team called he said they were called the All Stars, and they were like they do acrobatics.
Mm-hmm.
They like do backflips and stuff. There was an
The
Orthodox.
Hebrew, yeah,
Well, you think of the Hebrew Children's Asylum.
something, yeah.
He said it was called the House of David, and
That's who I was thinking. House of David.
yeah, and they would wear Orthodox outfits
And beards.
and the beards. Yeah,
I heard
and
Babe Ruth played the game. And
oh
he had a
really?
beard, yeah.
Yeah, my dad grew up in New York in the 20s. He never saw Babe Ruth hit a home run, but he went to some of these fun and interesting, kind of minor league games or non MLB. Um, but the way he described it was very fond, and the spirit of baseball that was on display was.
I mean,
For
they
a
were
kid-
playing for the love of it, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's to a degree.
yeah. I
It
mean,
was better living than some of the other jobs, but
it was an adventure too. Yeah, all the traveling, barnstorming. I mean, God, the stories just have to be.
so I read the
nonstop.
book. Only the ball was white.
Wow.
It's
That's
like the
hard.
history of the Negro Leagues, and it's fascinating.
I bet.
I mean, it's much like the early history of baseball, where you're just jumping around from the counts, and it's like kind of confusing at times. You're like, wait a
Just
minute.
not as organized in some way.
Well, yeah, for a long time they didn't really keep records.
Mm.
They were just playing,
Mm.
and then it was, and that was something I think that people always look down upon them for
Mm.
because they didn't keep as good of records
Mm-hmm.
um, until a little bit later. But it's like they just didn't think of it because it was we're here to play ball. They're paying us, so let's do it.
Let's do it.
And a lot of them, it was crazy because they were all waiters at these like fancy hotels, and when baseball was super popular, they would just have afternoon games, and so it was almost like they were playing different hotel kind of thing.
Oh, really? They would swap waiters, different hotels.
Yeah, it was interesting.
I read a book
Good
about.
read if you want to.
It's called Norman Grand's The White Moses of Black Jazz. So this record producer and musician manager would put on all these jazz tours and refuse to play a place if they segregated the audience. So he used commerce to open up racial customs and norms and mores in the South. And, a lot of times, like a couple times he had a gun put in his belly. Anyway, what I never knew about jazz in the 20s and 30s is that if you were playing, like all the clubs were owned by mafia guys. And if you were a black musician playing in a club and you wanted to play in another club, like you couldn't do it. It was almost like you were an indentured musician
Mm-hmm.
to that club. Um, One guy said, "Man, screw this! I'm going to Chicago. I got a date out there, and go play out there." Got to Chicago, and the mobster out there was like, "Gotta go back to New York, man. I can't cross Lefty or whoever it was in New York."
Right.
Um,
That's crazy.
yeah, like I just never heard that. Um, like big names, Cab Calloway, Duke Ellington, until they got so big they couldn't be denied. But there were, but most everyone else who was really good but not a major name were subject to these, territorial, and some of these contracts were just like absolutely ridiculous.
Evil.
Yeah,
Not to make light of it, but that was a episode of Murder She Wrote. Someone tried to get out of their contract, so they killed them.
I could see how you'd want to. Yeah, I read a story recently about how some mobsters kidnapped Thomas Fatzwaller, and because they wanted him to play Al Capone's 3-day birthday. So after 3 days, like they found Fatzwaller, he was like totally drunk, and his pockets were filled with thousands of dollars of cash. They just kept tipping him $100 to play, but he was still kidnapped.
Right.
But
At least he got paid.
I mean, probably the best scenario of that sort of story.
Yeah. Wind up with cement shoes.
Yeah, Riley times.
And even like us talking about this and telling these stories now, like I think that's this point proven that like this will never, including with like AI and all of that, like this will never die. Like this is us talking about humans and our history. You know what I'm saying? So it's like I don't think it'll ever die because it's who we are, and we're always gonna want to preserve who we are, whether it's our great uncle or great grandparents. Like my granddad, he was the original drummer for the Commodores.
Oh,
My family's from Tuskegee,
wow.
so and then it came to a point where he had to choose. I got these kids and they want to go do all this, and I need to be here. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
But it's like I never stop telling people about like that's where I get it from. And
What's his name?
Thomas Body. Thomas Body. Yeah,
That is a great musician name.
it is. And he was crazy. But yeah.
Dude, funk drummer for the Commodores?
Yeah.
You better be a little twisted, man.
Yeah.
Or else it ain't funky. That's cool. Thomas Body, spelled like Body.
Boddie.
Better,
They
yeah.
call them boat in Tuskegee. If you go down there and you find yourself there, y'all will be the only white people there. But it's Bodie.
Okay.
You know the Bodies?
Okay.
Yeah.
Thomas Body. I have a Commodores album at home. I gotta check the back.
It was before, definitely before any of that. It was before they had
Oh,
the money to do any of that. They were
okay.
playing parties and
Dang, man.
yeah.
He's like the Pete Best of the Beatles.
Yeah.
Shoot.
there right before it popped, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, my great uncle had a story. He wrote his memoirs, just like a brief memoirs before he passed, and he said in it he was in the farm leagues for the Milwaukee Braves, and they were going. I think they said they were in the playoffs or something. And one of their either second or first baseman, or second or shortstop, broke their leg, and they called him up and said, "Hey, we need someone to fill in. This guy's hurt. Can you do it?" And he's like, "I just signed a contract to teach. I can't do it." He's like, "I would have played next to Hank Aaron."
Wow.
He's like, and who knows what would have happened at that point, getting called up to the majors.
My dad had a couple of those too.
And it's just like, he's like, I need to go get paid and, start my career because baseball, is fun. But, in the farm leagues, you're not making a ton.
Right.
He's like, I had a chance at real money, or at least, kind of do what I was meant to do. So it's crazy.
It's a tough call, man.
Sometimes you got to make those calls. You got to make those calls.
Yeah. And he didn't look back too much. And he had a great, successful career. And he loved it. But he to him, it's just another story. Like, he had a lot of great stories. So I'm like, man, that's wild.
Yeah. But like I think that's a thing to talk about too, like as being a creative, balancing your responsibilities, whether it's to yourself or to your family or whatever, with what you're really trying to do. I mean, I was in a situation where I was working for a Grammy Award winning R&B artist. I was engineering for the guy, and we did a bunch of sessions in a week, and like we got towards the end, and the person was basically like, "Look, bro," like they were supposed to pay me, and they were like, "Look, man, like, can you reduce your rate?" And I'm like, I already did the work, so like, what are we talking about now? You know what I'm saying? You already know what I charge, and I took the reduced rate because I didn't really have much of a choice. But I realized after that, like, yeah, bro, this is not it. Like, this is not it. As much as like, and they were talking about, we're gonna take you on tour.
Yeah.
We're gonna you'll be the engineer on the road. Like, we got a studio in the bus. Da da da. And it's like, at the time, like my wife's not working. We need money. This is like right after this is like right when stuff is starting to open back up after COVID. I still ain't got my unemployment check. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, yeah, bro, like nah. Like, and sometimes you got to make those choices, and I think it always works out for the better. I think it always works out for the better. But it's
If you what? No matter which way.
no matter which way, but go. It's like we were talking about earlier with like the inspiration and all that. Like, you go with that intangible feeling. I really do believe that's like God speaking to us, and it's like, go with that intangible feeling. As much as that sounds great, it's like you gotta go with your gut, and then also like, bro, have morals and have things that you stand on. Like, yo, I'm worth this much money. I'm not I'm not doing that. And it's like, yeah, I could feel bad about it. And I mean, bro, they went on tour, man. On the tour I was gonna go on, I'm seeing it on Instagram. They're like doing shows with, I don't want to say no names because I don't want nobody to know who I'm talking about, but they were doing shows with my favorite rapper, my favorite number one favorite rapper. He's got his arm around, bro. Like, man, this is my guy. Da 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 da. Like, I would have been in the room with them. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, man, I gotta take care of my family, bro. I gotta take care of myself. You know, and just finding that, I think it can be tough when you're on that verge of like making it your main income. What opportunities you take and which ones you don't. You know, because I think there is like this idea, like, man, just take every opportunity you can, but not every opportunity is the right one.
It could
You
be a
know,
waste of spinning your wheels on something that.
Well, to piggyback on that, I stopped shooting weddings because
Yeah.
it was soul killing to me. I'm like, this isn't why I became a
It's
photographer.
cash in hand, but it was a drag.
Yeah, it was just, I I was still shooting some when I first got married, and my wife's like, "Hey, they pay you like $2,000 to go do this." I mean, $2,000's cheap now, but I'm like, yeah, but it sucks. She's like, but it's $2,000. I'm like, come with me. She assisted on one. She's like, yeah, this sucks. I don't blame you. And it was just kind of like it took her kind of experiencing it to understand why I didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
And she totally understood why I didn't want to do it. And it was like, yeah, it's money, but at the end of the day, it did more damage to me as a photographer because it killed my creative juices.
Mm.
Because I'm like, you're there, 10 plus hours some days, always on. And I'd get home, I'm like, then you got to edit that stuff.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, this is not for me. Just, it's not worth it. And it'd take a lot of money for me to shoot a wedding at this point. And even then, it's like, pay someone who loves doing that.
Exactly.
I have a friend who loves doing it. And it's like, pay him. He loves it. Like, he gets thrill out of it.
It was maybe, I want to say it was like 15 or 16 years ago. I was meeting up with my old college roommate, McCod Brooks, who's an actor. And he had just been in this film with John Voight called Glory Road. Basketball
Oh
movie.
yeah, dude.
Yeah, basketball movie. So we're having lunch at Stanley's in Studio City. And I look across the room and I see McCod. Isn't that John Voight? And he goes, oh man, it's John. He's like, I gotta go say hi to him. So he goes over, says hi to John. He points over at me, wave like this, comes back over. He says, John's gonna join us when he's done having lunch with his friend. So John comes over, very nice man. I introduced myself. And McCod says, John, I'd like your advice on something. He says, I feel like my representation just priced me out of a gig that I really had a heart for. I really liked. I was passionate about it, but but they weren't able to pay me my rate that I'm trying to build up. And John said, it's much easier to find gigs that will pay you than it is to find gigs that you're passionate about. Now, maybe it was for John Voight. I don't know. I don't know if everyone can say that, but definitely, like if you're getting better and better at what you're doing, if you're increasing your skill set, your taste, and your portfolio, like just naturally, you're going to start making more money. You're gonna be able to separate yourself from the other people doing what you're doing in your world, and you're going to be able to command a higher fee. But definitely, it is few and far between the projects that really spark you.
Yeah.
I mean, I would shoot tons of concerts for free because I loved the band,
Yeah.
or I loved the music, I loved the people. And it was like I'm not on stage, but this is my contribution to what you do. Like, this is how I can help your scene. Like, my camera's yours. But then I'll go shoot, something for like OC Weekly or something. I'm like, I can't wait for the 3 songs to be done so I can get out of here. But they paid me. At the time it was like $50. It wasn't much, but it was like, I made some money. Um, but I would take that $50 and then go buy records of the bands I love and support the scene. Because I'm like, I have a full-time job or another paycheck. This stuff, I'd rather support the things that are my passion.
Yeah. And I don't remember who said this, but somebody said it, like when it comes to music gigs, and I think this is true of acting or photography or any creative thing, there's 3 pillars. There's the money, there's the hang, like how are the people, and then there's the thing like do I love what I'm doing here? And at least 2 of them have to be present at all times.
Mm.
you know, because sometimes it is like I'm turning down the money, but I love this thing so much because that's your conviction in that moment. Or sometimes, like for me, it's like I love the room and the opportunities in the room, but I don't necessarily love what's being made. And the money's not there, and the hang is not my scene. You know what I'm saying? I'm not, I used to party. I'm not that guy anymore. I don't need to be around the illicit substances and half naked girls. Like, that doesn't inspire me. So, if you find yourself, I think, as a creative and at least two of those things aren't present, it's time to peace. Because money alone, as you've shared, is not enough.
No, no.
It's not enough. Um, and I think even loving it alone is not enough, you know, because like, dude, we do have to pay bills and stuff. But if you love it and the hang is good, like the people are good, then it's like you said, I'll get another paycheck.
Yeah.
I'll get another paycheck. But this needs to be done.
Yeah. It felt, and it was almost like a conviction for me.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, you gotta keep
these,
pulling those strings.
yeah, and like I love these people. I love what they were doing. Is like because they were doing the stuff that I wish I had at that age,
Hmm.
and so seeing these kids do it, I'm just like, look, what you're doing is amazing. I love it. Just I'll do whatever I can.
Whatever, old man.
Yeah. Well, there was a few of those, but
Yes, that's the punk spirit, young man.
you got it right. But it was cool because I still talk to some of those people, and you know they still have prints that I
Mm.
made from that, and they
Wow.
look at those as treasured.
Dude, another 10 years, you're gonna be you're gonna have this archive of OC punk photography between in this 10-year span, and you're gonna get a lot of respect. I make the prediction now that you're gonna have an amazing gallery exhibition. Your name is gonna be a special place in OC punk history.
I do actually have pictures up in the Fullerton Museum right now.
It's
What?
already begun.
I didn't know about it. They had asked a guy who ran the record label of the scene, and he gave him like I think 3 or 4 of my pictures.
Who
Wow.
told you? Someone told you?
Yeah, I eventually found out because someone posted a picture next to him. I was like, wait a minute,
I
what's
took
this
those
guy
pictures.
doing? I haven't been to it yet. It's
Heck
at
yeah.
the OC Punk exhibit at the Fullerton Museum.
Cool.
I
Very
need to
cool.
try. I want to bring my boys down. But
Yeah.
your dad's kind of cool.
Yeah, dude. Let me ask you guys, with that, like like the passion, the thing that we love, good people around, and money. Have you ever been in a situation where you love like what's being made, but the people suck and the money sucks?
Which part do you love again? What's being
What's
made?
been made?
Yeah.
Uh, that's a tough one. How many times do you love what's being made, but you don't like the people who are making it?
I think it's happened to me a few times where it's like I'm working with like a hero or like something like that, and like I'm like, wow, like the music is so good, but like this person is a jerk.
Uh,
Never knew that. Wow, you know,
that's a bummer.
and then the money is also not there. Because a lot of time the people that are jerks also don't want to pay.
Well, yeah, usually. I mean, I've had people at work that I'm like, I don't care about, but I had the benefit of I love the team I work with, and I know the next day is gonna be a better day. So there's that. And for weddings, what I started doing was just hiring friends to be my assistant. So I'm like, well, at least I'll hang out with someone I like.
So you bring the hang.
Yeah, and it was like I would give these people a good chunk of money from what I was getting, just so I had someone
Mm.
that I trusted and wanted to hang out with.
Mm.
And it was fun because it was, we were both all early photographers, so it was like, hey, I'm shooting a wedding, I need an assistant, I'll give you this, great. perfect. I need, money. And then next month, they're like, hey, I got a wedding. Why not you come and assist me? And so we would just like trade. So it was like
Mm.
we would constantly have these little bits of income just because of,
It's a great way to
friends.
do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, it's like working with Charlie, now the team that, we do, it's pretty much the same team at this point all the time.
Pretty dialed in.
And it's like we may have grueling days, but we're with cool people.
Yeah.
It's like it's fun.
Yeah.
It
There's
doesn't.
there's seldom ever in the 6 years we've been shooting for this one client has there ever been a drag of a dude on set
Yeah.
that makes it, makes it makes it harder or any less fun. Like everyone's working hard, good attitudes. I try to bring the good food and snacks and lunches and tunes, whatever else I can do. The last one we shot was 106-degree weather. I got neck fans for everybody, make sure everyone's hydrated.
Brutal.
That was monstrous. But to your point, having good people on set.
Yeah. And I've have hired one of those guys a couple times.
Tim.
Yeah, Tam.
Yeah.
And it's like now my work loves him, and he just did we've hired him twice this month, I think.
That's great.
And it's like every time, you know, my my team will come up to me later and be like, I love Tam. I'm like, that's why I hire him. He's great.
That's cool. That makes me happy.
Yeah, and he did a shoot that I wasn't even on for them.
Nice.
And it was like even I wasn't there, that they still came back and like that guy's great. I'm like, I know. Like we should use him more.
Yeah. I mean, the longer we're in our industries, what naturally happens is you start collecting people that you really jive with
Yeah.
and that make the day enjoyable, even if it's a hard day creatively or any other way. That is like what you have to do to survive the often grueling schedule of creative commerce.
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't we work with people we like? And the older we get, and the longer we do it, I guess the people who get switched out, it happens less and less. But then those people, they come up with their own crews.
I have actually talked to people who said that, they put in time with people and then they got to a point where they were breaking to the next level and then they like cut off all these people who helped get them there. It was weird.
Oh wow.
And he's like, yeah, I thought we were friends. So there's definitely those people too, but
Tough town.
I think us three, have this different mindset of quality, and you start trusting those people.
Loyalty. Yeah.
And loyalty, means something to us.
Yeah.
And I start saying it all the time now when I talk to people, but I think it was something you said in your interview was, I don't know if it was a quote from someone else, but you said, I feel like I've succeeded when I can give jobs to my friends.
Yeah, success in this industry is when you can get your friends work because
Yeah.
you're able to feed yourself and help them feed their people. And that's a good feeling. And that's a me
100%.
quote. You can quote me on that.
Right.
I mean, I think about, the work we've done over the last 6 years. Some of that started, actually, it all started when Jessica quit her job. And there was times where that work equaled what she had brought in for that year. And it was like, it was a total God thing because I was like, on paper, I'm like, you can't quit your job because it doesn't work. But we did it. And it was, I think, soon after that, we started doing that, and it became, regular.
Regular enough, yeah.
And it was like, all right,
Amazing, man. Freelance is
I was wrong
wild.
again.
Yeah.
To see, we had a shoot scheduled for 2 months ago, and in one reason or another, due to the tariffs, it got canceled, and it was a big shoot, and we're all going to eat off of it for a little bit. And I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I was like, this might be the time for me to put into action Operation Coffee Cart, where I get my ass a coffee cart and I post up near a school and just sell coffee to parents. It's like that's like my parachute, my last.
Right.
Yeah. Well, like the day we were supposed to shoot, I book a commercial. Then the guy that I've hired for 6 years hires me to do a gig. And my best pal gets way too much work. I take some of this off my plate. Now I'm editing some. I mean, it's like, didn't come from nowhere. It came from effort and divine providence, but I didn't know it was going to be around the corner.
Yeah.
It's such a magical thing. It can feel like, but it feels nice when it appears.
Definitely.
Yeah.
When it doesn't, it's
Been there.
we make
Boy.
art about how tough it is.
Exactly.